thank our sponsor for this morning. Okay, the shir today is sponsored by Shimshon Granik in memory of his father, Zichron Livracha, whose yahrzeit is tomorrow, Gimel Tevet. So today is the 8th day of Chanukah, which is known in the annals of Jewish life as Zot Chanukah. And for many, many people, this 8th day of Chanukah is when we kind of check out of Chanukah, right? We've already lit all the candles. Many people, as soon as those candles burn out on that 8th night of Chanukah, they've already put the Chanukah away. But in the thought of the Hasidic masters, this day of Zot Chanukah, the 8th day of Chanukah, is actually one of the most significant days in the Jewish calendar. And that might come as a shock to some of us. And therefore, we're going to take a deep dive over the next few minutes together into the significance of this day of Zot Chanukah, the sacred day of Zot Chanukah. So we're going to jump right in. Text number 1 on our sheets. Again, this is part of a course called Modern Masters, where we learn from a number and many 20th and 21st century masters of Jewish thought. I'm going to start with Rabbi Avram Shor. Rabbi Avram Shor is the illustrious son of Rabbi Gedalia Shor. Rabbi Gedalia Shor, of course, was the great Rosh Hashiva of TORAH in Brooklyn for many, many years. And his son is Rabbi Avram Shor, is a prominent rabbi in Brooklyn today. And Rabbi Avram Shor's svarim are called Al-Lekach V'Al-Livuv. They're masterpieces of Jewish thought, weaving together teachings from many, many different Hasidic masters. And this is text number 1, just a short teaching from the Lekach V'Al-Livuv. Hayom Yom HaShmini Shel Chanukah. Today is the 8th day of Chanukah. Shmona Pa'amim Chanukah. Now listen to this. 8 times Chanukah in the Gematria is tshuva. Okay, if you take the word Chanukah and multiply it by 8, okay, we come up with the same Gematria as the word tshuva. And this comes to teach us what? That this day of Zot Chanukah, the 8th day of Chanukah, is specifically about what? Tshuva. It has an incredible capacity for tshuva on this day. And not only that, but since we already mentioned that today is the 8th day of Chanukah, and therefore, this day of the 8th day of Chanukah, since it's the number 8, what else occurs on the 8th day? The mitzvah of Brit Milah. And therefore, somehow, this day, in addition to being unique, and the unique capacity for tshuva on this day, somehow this day of the 8th day of Chanukah is somehow mixed together, okay, with the spiritual power of Brit Milah. U'kamoshe kitvu b'sifrei HaKodesh ki mahut shmini hu mi'al l'derech hateva. As we know from many, many sources, that the number 8 represents what? Being beyond the realm of Teva, the realm of nature. Meaning that the world was created in 7 days, and therefore the number 8 represents what? Being beyond the world of creation. Okay? Represents the supernatural, if you will. Okay? Yesh koach b'yom zeh lishpor hateva, says Rabbi Avram Shor. And therefore this day has the capacity, what? To allow us to what? To break through nature, to overcome the gedarim, the limits of nature, lihitnaheg b'mesirut nefesh, and to conduct ourselves with great what? Mesirut nefesh, perseverance, to overcome our natural limitations, to accomplish beyond what we could ever imagine. That's the nature of this day of Zot Chanukah, says Rabbi Avram Shor. No relative. He's a Levi. Sorry, Diane. I know you're always trying to find the Shor cousins, but no, he's not a relative to us. He's a Levi. We're not Leviim, and they spell their name differently than we spelled our name. But he's an amazing teacher and someone whose Torah resonates very much with my neshama. So maybe there is some connection mystically with the Shors. But anyways, we're now going to learn from another great Hasidic master, the Rabbi of Amshanav. And the Rabbi of Amshanav, in text number 2, says the following. Ha'inyan shenikra Zot Chanukah. The idea that we call this day Zot Chanukah, which literally means this is Chanukah. Yachol Faresh Dihine Shum Chag Lo Matzinu Sheyesh Shmona Yamim. We don't see any other Yom Tov, that really lasts for 8 days. I mean, he's assumed, which is interesting because what? We know that in Chutz La'aretz, we always had an extra day, but really, from the Torah, so Shmini Atzeret so that's exactly what he says. Va'afilu b'Shmini Atzeret, hu regel b'pnei atzmo. We say the Shmini Atzeret, even though it's the 8th day and counting from the beginning of Sukkot, it's not considered as being part of Sukkot. It's a Yom Tov b'pnei atzmo. It's considered an independent holiday. V'inyan b'zeh yesh lomar b'akdem ma sha'amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Aaron b'Chanukat HaNesim chayecha shachag gdola mishalem. Now, all of us know the backstory of this, right? That in the beginning of Parsha Ba'alotcha, Aaron, in Parsha Nasa, Aaron, before we get to Ba'alotcha, Aaron is feeling left out. There's the dedication of the Mishkan, and all the Shvatim are allowed to bring a korban except for Shevet Levi. And Aaron is a Kohen, and he represents Shevet Levi. And Aaron is feeling what? According to the Ramban and Rashi, Chal Shadaito. He's feeling downtrodden. He's feeling left out. He's suffering from what today's kids will call FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So he's feeling left out. And therefore what happens? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, according to the Medrash, appears to Aaron, says, don't worry. What I'm going to designate for you to do is going to be greater than anything they did. And what is he talking about? And then comes Parsha Ba'alotcha. Okay, immediately on the heels of this, Aaron is instructed to light the menorah in the Mishkan and bring the light into the Mishkan. Okay, so the afila karbana shelahem srichin la or shacha shit kablu. And he says, therefore, Aaron, don't be downtrodden. Even their karbanos, before they're going to be able to offer the karbanos, what needs to happen? You need to light up the space where they're going to bring their karbanos. And therefore, the task I'm giving you, Aaron, is going to be greater than the task that they have. And the number 8 also refers to what? The future. Beyond this world. Beyond our current mitzvot. Because this world was created what? During those 7 days of the first week of existence. And that's why this Yom Tov of Chanukah lasts for 8 days. Because, says the Amshanav Rebbe, this day, Yom Tov of Chanukah is a glimpse at eternity. It's a glimpse, it's a taste of what the world might be like during Yimot HaMashiach. Okay? Haresh Aideh Shechanukah Hu Chet Yamim Mizeh Yadanu Shehu Me'ein Latid. And since Chanukah lasts for 8 days, again, 8 represents what? Being beyond this world. Okay? Since Chanukah lasts for 8 days, it's a hint, it's a glimpse, telling us what the world might be like in the future. V'zeu Zot Chanukah. And that's why this day is called Zot Chanukah. This is Chanukah. Sheyom Acharon Zeh Megaleh Kol Chanukah Shu Me'ein Latid. Because this is the 8th day, the number 8, representing the supernatural, representing moving beyond the realm and the world of creation, of reality, the reality that we're living through. Okay? Therefore, this day represents, it's like the Geshpanka, as we say, it represents everything that Chanukah collectively is meant to teach us. This is the essence of Chanukah. Okay, so we're going to build on all these. We're now going to learn from a very, very interesting teacher that many people have probably not heard of. We've heard of it, doesn't learn in this course before. I've heard it because we've learned from his Torah before. That's Rabbi Gamliel Rabinovich. Rabbi Gamliel Rabinovich is a great Yerushalmi Mikubal, and he published a sefer last year. I got a copy of the sefer on Chanukah. And Rav Gamliel is going to teach us and share with us some very, very interesting insights about the nature of this day of Zot Chanukah. Okay? And he said it begins with the koteret, Zot Chanukah utachlit kol yemei Chanukah. This 8th day of Chanukah really is the essence of all the days of Chanukah. Brings together all the days of Chanukah. Yom ha'acharon Chanukah nikra Zot Chanukah. This last day of Chanukah is called Zot Chanukah. This is Chanukah. V'aremez b'teva Zot. What's alluded to in this with the word zot? This is sheyom zehu nikudat kol yamim shekidmu lo. That this is the coming together, the it's bringing together everything that came before it. And it's the highest day of all the days of Chanukah. Again, most of us, okay, the way we grew up, once we finish lighting those 8 candles, Chanukah's over. We put the Chanukah away. We're already moving on. Think about what's coming next. But this last day of Chanukah, says Rav Gamliel Rabinovich, is the most important day of the whole Chanukah. The Chatab is Sefer Kedusha Levi. Now I was going to quote Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, the great early Hasidic master. Shebimei Chanukah yesh hamshacha miyom HaKippurim. Okay, the days of Chanukah are a continuance of the day of Yom Kippur. Okay, but Tzadikim Amru, listen to this. Shebiyom Zot Chanukah naaseh b'shamayim gemar hachatima mimei adin shayu b'tishrei. That on this day, the 8th day of Chanukah, on Zos Chanukah, it's the gemar chasima. It's the completion of everything that was decreed during the days of Tishrei. And therefore, the forgiveness that we are given on Yom Kippur continues. The capacity for forgiveness that we receive on Yom Kippur continues until when? This very last day of Chanukah. Now listen to this idea. V'yesh hanogim lomar tashlich b'yom zeh. There are those that have the custom to say Tashlich today on Zod Chanukah. Okay? And he brings this down from many sources. Zod Chanukah yashlama liyamim hanorim. Because this day of Zod Chanukah is the completion of the Yamin Noraim, of the days of awe. L'kach b'yom zeh mitorer kol lev Yehudi lashuv b'tshuva shlema. And therefore, on this day, every single Jew should be inspired to do complete tshuva. The Yom Zeh Misugal L'kach, and this day has the unique capacity for that very idea of doing tshuva. V'af im lo shav kira'oi b'yamim ha'kedoshim shel chodesh Tishrei, and even if we didn't do tshuva like we're meant to be, like we're supposed to, during the days of Tishrei, yachol atar la'ashlim et avodat tshuva. We have the capacity on this day of Zod Chanukah to complete the tshuva process. V'harei kol Yehudi chafetz b'shana tova u'muvarechet. Every single Jew wants to be blessed in the new year. Okay? Ukeshiyashu b'tshuva yiske berachmei Hashem lihivasha b'chol mishalotav. That when a person does complete tshuva, then they are granted through Hashem's rachamim the answer of all that they need and all that they're seeking. Now listen to this last piece from Rav Gamliel. Koach HaTfilah b'zot HaChanukah. And the Koach HaTfilah, the power of Tfilah, the capacity for prayer on this day of Zot Chanukah. Listen to this idea. Rabbi HaKadosh Mirajin, Zchuto Yagin Aleinu, the great Rabbi of Rajin, Rabbi Yisrael Rajin, Amar Begoda Ma'alat Yom Zot Chanukah, when in describing the level of sanctity, the great of this day of Zot Chanukah, she'ota pa'ula she'tzadikei ador einam yicholim lif'ol b'tfilat ne'ilah b'yom kippur yachol kol Yehudi pashut levakesh lif'ol b'yom Zot Chanukah. Wow. Okay? That which the tzaddikim of the generation, okay, even the tzaddikim of the generation can't accomplish on the Elah, a simple Jew can accomplish on this day of Zot Chanukah, says the Rebbe of Rajin. Im kain al kol adam lishtadel b'yom zeh lashkia zman v'kochot levakesh al ruchaniyot. If this is all true, says Rabbi Gamliel Rabinovich, okay, a person therefore has to put time and effort into on this day of Zot Chanukah to ask and to seek spiritual growth. To feel and to express our love and feel close to God and to be strengthened in our faith. The truth is that every single day that we're alive, a person really should feel this and experience this and be inspired to ask for the things that Hashem gives us. And therefore, the power of this day, if we can utilize this day like it's meant to, and hopefully it will inspire us. What? Like a turning wheel, like that dreidel, like that spinning wheel. It'll propel us forward to continue to grow in Ruchnius throughout the entire year. So says Rav Gamliel Rabinovich, this day of Zod Chanukah is the completion of the entire period which began with the days of Tishrei, the Yomim Narayim. This is really the last of the Yomim Narayim, and it has the capacity for us to experience and grow spiritually and accomplish things that even the tzaddikim couldn't accomplish at the time of Ne'ilah and Yom Kippur. Okay, so it seems that this day is very much connected to the day of Yom Kippur. And now we're going to learn a very interesting piece, which is going to build on this a little bit more and also bring us to contemporary times. We're going to learn from a beautiful teaching from one of my spiritual heroes, and that's the Ohale Yaakov, Rabbi Yaakov Friedman of Hasiyatan, the Rebbe of Hasiyatan, who came on Aliyah to Eretz Israel in 1938, together with his father-in-law, the previous Rebbe of Hasiyatan, Rabbi Israel Friedman, and he succeeds his father-in-law. His father-in-law dies a few years after they make Aliyah. He succeeds his father-in-law as the Rebbe of Hasiyatan in downtown Tel Aviv, okay? And he basically lives through that whole tkufa of first of all, escaping Poland just as the Nazis, Yimach Shimon, came to power, okay, and took and invaded Poland, and lives through the whole tkufa of the Shoah, of the early years of the battle, both in terms of warfare as well as diplomatically, to establish the state of Israel, as well as the early years of the state of Israel. He dies in 1957. So the first few years of the state of Israel, which, by the way, were very, very difficult times. Even into the early 1970s, when my aunt and uncle made Aliyah to Eretz Israel in 1973, okay, literally on the heels of the Yom Kippur War, it took them 2 years to get a phone in their house. Okay, now everyone walks around with one of these, right? It took them 2 years to get a phone in their house. Okay, the living conditions, okay, in the early years of the state of Israel, let alone all the way up into the 1970s, were not like we have today. Okay, so this Rebbe lives through the most difficult times in Jewish history and some of the most significant times in Jewish history, and he manages to come to Eretz Israel, where he becomes a very, very positive force in terms of not only the religious presence in Tel Aviv, but in terms of building bridges with those who were not traditionally religious and ritually observant. And what's very fascinating is that he becomes lovingly known as the Admor Atzioni, the Zionist Hasidic master. And you'll understand why in a moment when we learn this piece together. This is a sefer you cannot buy in the average Sfarim store. Actually, I heard about this Rebbe in a lecture that my teacher, Rabbi Dr. Tzvi Weinreb, gave, and I asked Rabbi Weinreb where I can get the sefer, and he says, I think it's out of print, but he says there's a Rabbi, Yehuda Brandis, who teaches in the Herzog Institute in Alon Shvut, the teachers' college associated with the yeshiva in Alon Shvut. He said, Yeshiva Har Etzion. He says, if you reach out to Rabbi Brandis, and he gave me his number, he wrote a biography about this Rebbe, so maybe you can get the biography, and maybe he'll know where you can get the sefer. So sure enough, I reached out to Rabbi Brandis, I got the biography about him, and he told me where I could get the sefer, that there's a particular family who prints the sefer, and they live deep in Kiryat Belz in Yerushalayim, okay, in the back end of Geula, Kiryat Belz, and you have to go to his house, you have to call him, you have to go to his house. So I called this Rabbi Yaakov Schreiber is his name, and it turns out he's the son or grandson of the Rebbe's Shamish, and therefore, in tribute to his father or grandfather, he publishes the Rebbe's teachings, but he sells out of his house because in their world, some of these teachings are so controversial because he's so pro Medinat Yisrael, and so I had to go to his house. I went to his house, and when I bought the sefer, he asked me, many people want to take this out of my house in a plain brown paper bag so people don't see them walking through the street with a sefer. I said, I'm okay walking through the street with a sefer. So this has become one of my favorite Sfarim. Rabbi Weinreb was right. He told me that you're going to love the sefer. And so text number 4, we're going to learn a short piece from Chanukah in 1950, okay, that the Rebbe Hasiyatan shared. Chasidim ma'achal and gemar chatima tova b'Chanukah. This text number 4 on our sheets. Chasidim wish one another a gemar chatima tova on Chanukah. Okay, when do we say gemar chatima tova? When do we wish gemar chatima tova on Yom Kippur? Says b'Chasidim, they say it when? On Chanukah. Yesh hadavar zer makar b'sifrei Chasidim. We see this idea introduced in numerous Hasidic texts. The Sefer tells Aram Rabbi Aram Zitimer, Tamido Shal Rabbi Berditchev. He says, for example, the Toldot Aram from Rabbi Aram Zitimer, who was the student of Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, Katuva Achar Parshat Miketz. He says he writes after Parshat Miketz, Ad Chanukah Hu Hoshana Rabbah. Okay, until Chanukah, it's the same as Hoshana Rabbah, meaning what? Shehu Gemara Chatima. That's the complete. That's when it's really sealed on Chanukah. And now listen to the cool part. Okay, this is the fun part. And we wish one another Gemar Tov, meaning now, meaning Chanukah in 1950. He b'chavana kefula. It's with a double kavana, a dual kavana. Why? And now there's a parenthetic note that the Rebbe's son, who put together the Sefer, okay, plops in here. Okay, he says, "Anashim Yerushalayim bikshu b'yamav achronim b'shifta b'vnei Brak l'chavo da'ato al yisod ha'medina." So a group of people came to visit my father in his other residence in Bnei Brak. Okay, he lived in Tel Aviv and also Bnei Brak, and they wanted to know his opinion on the establishment of the state of Israel. Anah, he answered, "Hi atchalta de geula." It's the beginning of the geula, the redemption. And now that's the end of the parenthetic note. In came atchalta the geula, kvar zechinu be'ezrat Hashem yibrach. If we've already merited through Hashem's help to experience the beginning of the geula, okay, aval hi rak b'muvan hachomri. That's only in terms of having a physical presence here. Okay, v'anu tzrichim ligmar tov sheyavo b'meher b'yameinu agula ruchanit yagula shlema b'yat HaMashiach. And therefore, we ask and we request that we should experience the Gemar Tov. We've had the Atchalta of the Gula, but we want the Gemar Tov, says the Rabbi. We ask and we beg of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we should be zocheh also to see the spiritual salvation, the complete Gula, with the coming of Mashiach. Birkat Gemar Tov gam bechavana zu yesh la shaychu l'Chanukah. And Dafka saying Gemar Chatima Tova with that kavanah in mind is especially connected and relevant to the days of Chanukah, says the Rebbe of Hasiyatan. Why? And he's going to quote the writings of the Rabbi Pinchas Mikoretz, one of the first Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov. The Eta Bektavi Me'et Rabbi Pinchas Mikoretz Zchuto Yagil Leinu B'chol Chanukah B'shat Adlaka Nerot Mitgaleh Or Ganus. That every Chanukah, when we light those candles, we are being introduced, okay? We're experiencing the hidden light of Mashiach. V'hu oro shel Mashiach. That is the light of Mashiach. And then he quotes the Me'orei Naim, the Rebbe of Chernobyl. Arachti ner l'mshichai is the pasuk in Tehillim says, I prepared a candle for my Mashiach. Miner Chanukah heracha leviat Mashiach. From the lights of Chanukah, we prepare to welcome Mashiach Tzidkenu. And therefore, said the Rabbi Hasiyatan, there is a minhag on Chanukah to wish one another Gemar Chatima Tova. And if that's true, and based on what we learned earlier from his illustrious ancestor, the Rebbe of Rizhin, Rabbi Yisrael of Rizhin, okay, who was also Rabbi Yisrael Friedman, okay, same family name. He's a descendant of the Rebbe of Rizhin, who said what? That Chanukah is the Gemar Chatima, and therefore it makes perfect sense that the minhag amongst the Hasiyat and their Hasidim was to wish one another a Gemar Chatima Tova on Chanukah. But even more so in our mitzvot of celebrating Chanukah in Medinat Yisrael, that we say Gemar Chatima Tova, we say we have Hakara Satov to Ribono Shalom, that we've been zocha to experience, says the Rabbi of Hasiyatan, that we've been zocha to experience the establishment of the state of Israel, which is the Atchalta de Geula, and therefore we daven and we say Gemar Chatima Tova, Hashem, bring us the Gemar Chatima, bring us Mashiach. We've taken the first step. We're here. We've merited to come home, but now bring us all the way. so we can experience the Gemar Chasima Tova. Okay, one last idea to bring this all together. Okay, this is Rabbi. We're going to learn again from Rabbi Avram Shor in a little bit longer piece here. Again, the Lakach V'Alivu. This is text number 5. Ra'iti b'shem Rabbi Hakadosh Rabbi Shimon Shalom mi'am shelav zchuto yagin aleinu tam sheyom zeh nikra zot Chanukah. He said, I learned from the Amshin of Rabbi, a blessed memory, why this day is called Zot Chanukah. This is Chanukah. Al Pikushiyot Beit Yosef. He says, in accordance with the famous question of the Beit Yosef, in terms of why Chanukah was established for 8 days, right? If the oil is meant to last for 1 day, then what's the miracle? Really, the days, the 7 miraculous days. Okay, Lama Tiknu Chet Yamim, Halahaya Lehem Shemen Liyom Echad. They had enough oil for 1 day. Then the miracle was only what? There's 7 days. Shalafima Shatirat of Yosef Shematzu Baboker Yom Rishon at Hanerot Milayim Shemen. Oh, he says one of the answers that's given that the Pri Chadash answers the question of Yosef by saying that it must mean that when the first day when they lit the candles, or when they came into the Beis Hamikdash, they saw that the menorah had shemen in it. Okay, and they lit those candles, and they stayed lit the first morning. And they didn't add the miracle oil, he says, till those candles finally burned out. After what? After the week. And they added that miracle oil on the 8th day, because that oil should have lasted only 1 day. He says the miracle was what? That the oil that had already remained that they had burned for 7 days. And that when they had the little pachachad that was enough for 1 day was when they ran out of oil, then they added that. That's the answer of the Pri Chadash. If that's true, then what? The miracle wasn't on the 8th day. The miracle was the 7 days of oil that burned first, not the what? Not the little pach that they added on the 8th day. Sharei bishmini lo nishar shemen b'neirot v'az dolek hapach shemen shematzu. Because by the 8th day, what? The miracle oil had burnt out, and therefore they finally lit what? That little jar of oil that they found. Im came b'yom hashmini lo hayones. If that's true, if we accept the answer of the Pri Chadash, okay, answering the question, the famous question of Beit Yosef, if that's true, then what? Then the 8th day was a miracle. Amar Rabbi Hakadosh Amshinav Zchuto Yagin Aleinu Shezeh Ikar Chanukah Lirot Shegam Ma Shedalek Al Pi HaTeva Hu Nes. Wow! Listen to this idea. That this is the essential message of Chanukah, my friends. That recognize and realize that even things that seem like they're what? They're an occurrence with the natural way of things, that too is miraculous. We don't take the nature of our day in, day out for granted, says the Rebbe of Amshinav. The message of Chanukah is what? Hakarat HaTov, to have appreciation for every moment, for every gift. Everything we have is miraculous and from the Yad Hashem, says the Rebbe of Amshinav. Okay? And then he says, L'chein nikra Zot Chanukah. That's why this day is called Zot Chanukah. Ki zehu hamatara v'atachlit shekol Chanukah. Lavo, lahodot, lahalel, gam al hateva, l'akir shezeh gam kein nes. Okay? To remind us, to show appreciation and praise even for that which is natural. Okay? Because we have to recognize that even that is also miraculous. What we see as being natural, okay, is also miraculous. It comes only from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nira l'osif b'zeh nekuda. And we have to add one other idea to this. She'al pi harov adam choshev shema sheyesh lo mikvar harei yesh lo. Everyone thinks that which he has in his life, they take for granted. V'al zeh ein tzarich l'nes, okay, sheyishar lo oto davar ki kvar yesh lo etzeh. And then he doesn't need a miracle. What? That everything he has should be sustained because he feels I already got it. I already accomplished it. Okay, I don't need any help. It's mine already. V'hakara emitit hu lakir shekol ma sheyesh lo hu be'emet netinat tmidit miHakadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, the most important message that we have to recognize and internalize is what? That everything we have comes constantly from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, what? There's really no difference in that which we already have and that which we don't have. Even that which we have, Hashem, it's Hashem that gives it to us. We have to recognize it's Hashem that gives us everything. And if that's true, if we recognize and come to realize and accept and appreciate that everything we have comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then we can also accept and recognize that even that which we don't yet have, okay, Hashem can bring to us and give to us. If He gives us what we already have, it means that even that which we still need, Hashem can also give it to us. Because the reality is that everything we have is really not ours. Okay? And this is the level of faith that a Jew has to come to and arrive at during these days of Chanukah. Pach echad, eino davar TV, sheyesh lehem et zeh. And even a person realizes that all I have is one little jar of oil. That's all I really have. I don't really have much. He recognizes what? That even that little bit that I do have is not necessarily because of nature. It's because HaKadosh Baruch Hu has gifted me with it. Ele yesh chiyuv lahalel zeh, sheHaKadosh Baruch Hu natan lehem et zeh. Okay, a person has to give thanks and recognize that everything we have comes from the Ribono Shel Olam. And this is the recognition, the appreciation, the awareness we need to have on this day of Zod Chanukah, on this last day of Chanukah. And that's why it's called Zod Chanukah. Because it's the essential message of the entire Chanukah. This message of Hakarat Hatov is the essential message that we need to internalize from the experience of Chanukah. These days of Chanukah are meant to remind us of this essential message of Hakarat Hatov, to appreciate the miracles and gifts that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings into our lives every single moment of every single day. So to bring this all together, I want to wish everyone a Gemar Chatima Tova, and may we be zocha to appreciate the zchut that is this day of Zod Chanukah, the gift that is this day of Zod Chanukah, to eternalize this message of being given a day, another opportunity to complete ourselves, to make ourselves better, to transform ourselves, to appreciate the capacity to daven on this day, that, as the tzaddikim teach us, that a simple Jew can accomplish on this day of Zod Chanukah what even the greatest tzaddikim can accomplish on Ne'ilah and Yom Kippur. And to recognize and eternalize that every single moment is a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If Hashem has given us what we do have, that means that what we still need in our lives, we can recognize and appreciate that Hashem has the capacity to give that to us as well. And then we'll be blessed to experience those Yeshuos today and in the days ahead.